Solo Mio, so magnifico. Hey there, y'all. Welcome back to Faith in Film. Tim Risto here. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Last night, I took my wife to see Solo Mio. Solo Mio is the latest offering from Angel Studios. It is a romantic comedy drama that stars Kevin James, best known from TV's King of Queens, as Matt Taylor, an art teacher who was left at the altar in Rome on his wedding day by his fiancée, Heather. Left with questions, pain, of course, and an unrefundable Italian honeymoon package, Matt is encouraged to use the package on his own, solo. He reluctantly does so, tries moving forward, tries to enjoy Rome, but struggles at every step, meeting a host of interesting characters along the way, including two other couples who are on the same honeymoon package, and a woman who runs a local coffee shop. Each of these characters is struggling in their own journeys, some of which, of course, is not immediately apparent. They are all imperfect, and as the story plays out, it becomes increasingly clear that their efforts to help Matt in his own grief and pain is really because they discover they need each other in different ways. What begins as a painful solo journey for Matt becomes a much more relationship-driven adventure than he first expected, and an opportunity at a second chance in life. The word solo that's used here in the title, at least as I understand it, is really a Spanish word that references an Italian phrase or expression, solo mio or sole mio, meaning mine only or just mine. And this is an expression of strong affection, similar to saying mine alone. The title is a nod to the famous Italian song O Sole Mio by Giovanni Capiro and Eduardo de Capua, which celebrates a sunny day and the deeper feelings that result from it. That song has become a classic representation of Italian culture, its warmth, and the spirit of its people, which is very much the spirit you are embedded in throughout this film. It is one of the film's foundational strengths, a beautiful atmosphere that pervades the film and the characters and the story. You are in Italy from frame one all the way through to the last frame. You are embedded in the culture of Italy, the music of Italy, the people of Italy, and the relationships of the characters as we follow them as they explore Italy and the story plays out. It's crafted beautifully. This is not just another Kevin James vehicle. He is the lead along with Nicole Grimaudo, but in many ways this is also an ensemble film in how well it uses the secondary characters and develops the interplay and fun between the entire cast. They're all interesting and fun characters without being over the top in most cases. They each contribute in some meaningful way or interesting ways without trying to attempt to be some kind of deep character study. The chemistry among the cast is very good. James is great here as Matt, with his comedy on display, but not as overtly as some other films in his filmography. What I appreciate here is his mature portrayal, the comedy dialed back a bit. His is a much more reserved, restrained performance, overall exhibiting some really good emotional depth and his trademark humor in sparing quantities. This is not broad comedy in most cases, and it certainly isn't slapstick, and no, it isn't an episode of King of Queens Goes to Rome. The film is funny, and I laughed out loud many times. The whole theater I was in did, including a hilarious bit when Matt and a woman that he meets at a bar have a little too much to drink and kind of stumble across Italy at night. Caterina Silva, who plays the drunk woman Claudia, is great here. The way they film the scene with cameras on James and Silver, the cameras are mounted like right here, and they're just, kind of stumbling around. I'm assuming it was a lot of spontaneous kind of interplay going on here, and it's just so funny. They did that really, really well. I'd love to see the outtakes on that. Another one that sticks out for me immediately here in my mind right now is one where James and his bros, Kim Coates and Jonathan Roumie, have a little impromptu emotional bonding moment done with humor but with restraint. It's very funny. But it's not solely a comedy, of course. It's romantic, it's dramatic, it's funny, all in equal measures. It's also sweet and charming, but it's just all well balanced. The genres all mesh really well together, which is a rare thing, especially in films these days, and also not an easy thing to pull off, that kind of balance between genres. Kudos to the filmmakers on that. Standout performance, though, for me, is Nicole Grimaudo, an Italian actress who has been active in film, TV, and theater since the late 90s. She is so good. She plays Kevin James's new love interest here in the film. My wife loved her performance, and rightly so. She is a natural, very genuine in her portrayal, and just lights up the screen in nearly every scene. She's fantastic. Kind of an Italian Audrey Hepburn, maybe? I don't know. That's one comparison that kind of comes to mind. Great performance and probably the standout acting role of the film, which is saying something because everyone is really good here. Kim Coates as Julian and Jonathan Roumie, Jesus from The Chosen, as Nathan are fantastic as the bros who befriend Matt and make it their mission to help him out. They are unique characters, slightly quirky and fun, neurotic in different ways. Each has their own idiosyncrasies, as do their wives, portrayed very effectively by Julianne Emery and Julie Serta. Both are also quirky, slightly neurotic, and funny. As I said, the chemistry between all the characters works well, but the chemistry between James and Nicole Grimaudo really is sweet. I was worried at first when I saw them on screen that they would be kind of mismatched, that the relationship would develop too quickly and feel kind of forced. But they aren't, and it doesn't. The filmmakers know to take their time to develop this relationship. It feels organic. There's no let's rush to the first kiss and then have some contrived effort to throw a bunch of, random hurdles into their relationship to create some forced conflict or tension. The film is the journey of them learning about each other and who they are. It does a good job of letting that play out in a natural way that doesn't feel forced or formulaic, so that when there is conflict, it feels earned in the story and even a bit surprising. At all costs, avoid spoilers before going to see this film. There are a couple of wonderful surprises in the second half, and in particular in the third act of the film, that caught me off guard. Your mileage may vary, but I was pretty engrossed in the film, was just kind of enjoying it. And I'm not going to spoil those here, of course, because it really adds to the enjoyment of seeing this film in the theater for the first time. But I can also see how those surprises will only grow the meaning of the film in repeat viewings down the road. There are a couple of kind of genuine, lump in your throat, misty-eyed moments where the meaning is directly an extension of character and story, which is always the best way to do things. One of the things I loved most about this film is most of what you see in the trailer comes from actually the first half or so of the film. The trailer doesn't actually show you much of what happens in the second half, which is great. Watching the trailer, I had a little different perception of where this film might be going. Honestly thought it might be quite a bit more formulaic than it turned out being. So I was pleasantly surprised watching in the theater to find out that I was being pleasantly surprised. This is how watching a film unfold should be, not going in knowing every plot point and beat from the trailer. Being this is Faith in Film, let's talk about the Christian faith elements in the film. Directly speaking, it's minimal, but that's not to say that it's minimized. There is some prayer in the film and a recognition of the existence of God, of course. The planned wedding at the start of the film is set in a church, which is always a good thing. Kevin James and Jonathan Roumie are both Catholics in real life. While faith is not on display here in direct ways, it kind of is. What do I mean by that? Well, Roumie and Coates' characters befriend James's Matt and try to help out their new brother in need. They become this trio, a brotherhood of new friends with not a lot in common at first, beyond the wedding package and a desire to help. This is, of course, a story of second chances, resurrection, and even forgiveness. Those elements are in here without being too heavy-handed. Much of it is here in just the foundation of the film itself. By example, it's just a wholesome film that is truly for everyone. There's no sex. In fact, several scenes play against Hollywood rom-com stereotypes and tropes, including one brief scene where filmmakers lead you to think one thing is happening, only to switch it around within seconds of the leading shot for you to discover, oh, that's not what I thought was taking place. Even Matt's friends are just that, male friends, brothers who care about him. And you know that in a Hollywood rom-com version of this storyline, they would almost certainly have made both those characters gay. There's also no sleeping around between unmarried characters, very minimal language, and none that I recall being used in a vulgar manner. Yes, characters do get drunk in the film, but there are clearly repercussions for those bad choices, and it isn't without consequence. It also doesn't feel like a sanitized film, so it has some emotional grit without being fake or put on and without wearing its faith on its sleeve either. It plays out more like a real-life rom-com where faith is an accepted part of life. And it kind of undergirds the characters' lives and actions without drawing attention to it too much. No more, no less. Solo Mio is directed by the Kinane brothers, who are actually a group of 7 brothers: Charles, Daniel, Patrick, Brendan, Peter, John, and William Kinane, and their brother-in-law, Jeffrey Aziz. According to Wikipedia, the group works collectively on directing, writing, producing, and editing films and documentaries. Pretty cool. They've partnered with Kevin James before on the Sound Guy comedy shorts and the Netflix comedy Home Team. Charles and Daniel are the ones directly credited as directors here for Solo Mio. They do a great job, and I found the way the story unfolded to be very natural, organic, and believable for the most part. It flowed really, really well. There weren't any, wasted scenes or parts that I felt were dragged out in any way. Montages are used throughout the film, not always just to speed up story elements, but often to help convey characters or emotion, and always in very short segments that flow really well in and out of the preceding and follow-up scenes. Brothers John and Patrick are credited as screenwriters along with Kevin James himself, and it's a nice story with some surprising twists along the way. Director of photography Jared Fadal's cinematography is very nice. It's beautiful without being distracting or demanding. Your attention is not drawn away from the story or characters with a bunch of beautiful shots of Rome every few moments. There are beautiful shots, but the cinematography establishes the setting from the beginning, and it remains here throughout. A background character, I guess you could say, fitting the tone of the film perfectly. I'm not familiar with Fadel and his work, but he seems to have done a lot of commercial and corporate work after a quick glance over at imdb.com. This looks to be one of his first film credits, and it's nicely done. The music is as much a character here as anything else. Composer Joy Yi Niao handles the music very, very well, and it is filled with a lot of beautiful Italian songs that effectively convey the relationships between the characters and their relationships to Italy itself. Music and a couple of songs are important to the characters and the story in the third act, too. I hope they make this soundtrack available on vinyl, because I'll pick a copy of it up for sure. I'm a bit of a vinyl head for those of you that don't know. So, Solo Mio, what do you think of it? In a recent video here on the channel, I talked about Jonathan Roumie's recent comments about Solo Mio potentially saving the rom-com. Does it? By gosh, I think it just might. I think Roumie is right here. This film really is a delightful, wonderful movie filled with heart and humor and romance. It's not overly deep in meaning or dark or fakely dramatic in any ways, which is perfect because the story it tells is not just a second chances story that seeks to, psychoanalyze Matt or any of the other characters. It's a rom-com. It retains the spirit of fun and romance without falling prey to a lot of, schlocky rom-com tropes. In fact, it reverses some of them, and without trying to give lip service to some deep introspection that would likely fall flat or feel out of place in this kind of film. It just tells a sweet, funny, and at times dramatic story in a delightful way, and in a lovely setting. Solo Mio is, in my opinion, an instant classic in the romantic comedy genre. Yes, I did say classic. I don't say that lightly. This is your faith-based alt version of a When Harry Met Sally type rom-com without all the sleeping around and foul language. The story is good. The characters are engaging. There are surprises along the way. And it's a journey that you'll want to revisit again and again, i.e., it's got a built-in repeat viewing factor. The film works on so many levels and is a fun journey that is equal parts romance, comedy, drama, and charm. For those of you who have been wondering, yes, my wife loved this film, and she has told me that this may very well be her new all-time favorite rom-com genre film. I loved it too, way more than I expected going into the theater. I'm ready to go see it again. It really is such a good film. It's out in time for Valentine's Day, so take advantage of that. Do yourself a favor. Take your wife or girlfriend on a date night and go see this film. Yes, guys too, you may also be surprised how much you'll enjoy it. Then go back, see it again. It's worth supporting in theaters and beyond, of course. Another great Angel Studios film. That's it, y'all. That's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Go out and support Christian films and filmmaking. Catch Solo Mio starring Kevin James and Nicole Grimaudo this week. But remember, above all else, stay in God's Word. Blessings, y'all. Have a great one. See you next time.